Could this be that same neighbor who was seen screaming at folks on the sidewalk earlier? Things took a weirder turn last night. Someone living just a few houses down from Nancy Guthrie's place walked up to people hanging out and demanded they get lost. It's her follow-up comment that really has everyone rattled. She claimed Nancy isn't even around anymore. She's supposedly been moved a long distance. What is that supposed to imply? When people tried to get more info, she just shut down. Plus, this part is sparking a ton of new theories. Why hasn't she shared any camera footage from that evening? Is this just an annoyed neighbor? Or is she hiding something she saw? 50 days in, and absolutely nothing feels right about this. What's your take on it? Does this behavior seem shady, or are people just overthinking things? What's up, everyone? It's been a while since I gave an update on the Nancy Guthrie case, but I came across a photo that I'm going to share right here. I won't go into the specifics of what I discovered since I already handed it over to the feds, but it'll be tough to convince me that Luke Daly wasn't part of Nancy Guthrie's abduction.
Hey everybody, it's my last night in Costa Rica at Imiloa Institute with 28 people for my Soul Shift retreat, and a whole bunch of you have sent me updates on the FBI being at the construction site that is 3 doors down from Nancy's house, which was the dream that I had with Nancy and her husband. And she just kept saying to me, 3 doors down. And then when I went there a couple of weeks ago, I got chills. And I know you're going to say, oh, that's not an update. But it's what I was feeling. And I kept looking at the big dumpster there. And I hope that they get the schedule for when they pick up that dumpster, because that was another hit that I got with a landfill. So the FBI, I guess they were there today and yesterday, and they were really looking at that house. So I'll keep you posted. But and
we do have the Sheriff Nanos, Nanny Nana Boo Boo, whatever you want to call him. He is being recalled. At least they are trying to recall him. There is a petition out. The people of Tucson, they do not trust him. They do not like how he's handled this case, and they are asking for him to be removed. We also have information, and I'm trying to get further detail on this, that boots on the ground are telling me that a YouTuber has found pajamas. They are pajamas that could be Nancy's. They were partially buried near her home. That has been found. Why this sheriff did not have more boots on the ground, why he refused help from the Cajun Navy is still beyond me. But we do have information that a YouTuber has found pajamas.
The Guthrie kids told our local station, KVOA News for Tucson, that someone in the southern Arizona community likely has the information needed to finally bring her back. They wrote that they hope people look back at their memories, specifically around January 31st, early February 1st, and the night of January 11th. The family has already put up a $1 million reward.
Tell what you know and help us bring our beloved mom home.
The most significant clue is that haunting video of a masked man with a gun at Nancy's door the night she vanished.
Nancy Guthrie. We still do not have any idea what happened to her or who could be behind her disappearance, but we do know that groups have gone out to Arizona with every intention of finding her. Joining us now is senior national correspondent Brian Enton. He's at the scene with an exclusive update on those efforts. Brian.
Yeah, Katie, well, you've been talking to the United Cajun Navy for the last week or so, and they have been on the ground here waiting to call in the troops. They want to organize. I mean, they literally have up to 24 canines on standby, canines that can, sniff out human remains, former law enforcement that volunteer, ready to come, they say. Drones, aerial support. We got our hands on, Katie, a 41-page basic plan that they submitted to an operational plan that they submitted. This is it right here. I mean, very, very detailed. Everything that they could bring to the table that they submitted to the Pima County Sheriff saying, please let us help you. We don't want to do it without your permission, but we want to help you at this point. We want to help you search for Nancy. We'll go out into the desert. And they have gotten no response, they say. I spoke with the sergeant who is the president of the union with the sheriff's office, who doesn't really understand why the sheriff isn't responding to the United Cajun Navy. Listen to what he told me, Katie.
If the sheriff is uncomfortable with them, working the area close into the home, there's certainly other areas that perhaps they could be beneficial, and more bodies and more help is always better than less.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would hurt.
No, I don't think so. And perhaps they could solve another crime. If the assets are here and they're willing to volunteer their time, I say why not use it?
Why do you think that they haven't gotten a response?
I think we addressed some of that in our previous conversation about priorities with Sheriff Nanos. He likes to control things, and I imagine that's some of that.
And we reached out to the sheriff's office, Katie, to see why they haven't responded to the United Cajun Navy. They sent us the same statement they sent us last night, just generally about private searchers, saying that they should not interfere with law enforcement and not go on private property, but didn't address specifically why they are not entertaining this 41-page operational plan. Katie?
Seems pretty bizarre to reject help when we don't have much to go on. Brian Enton, thank you.
In under 45 minutes, her pacemaker lost its signal. Nobody realized she was missing for another 7 hours. If you stop scrolling because your gut told you something was off, you're in the right place. Follow Crime Shadows and turn on notifications. We stay with every case until the full picture is revealed. Let's dive in. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, was dropped off at her place in the Catalina foothills near Tucson at 9:48 p.m. On January 31st, after dining with family, her son-in-law saw her garage door shut at 9:50 p.m. That was the last time she was seen. When she missed her online church service the next day, her family couldn't get a hold of her. Her cell phone was right on the table. Her keys and wallet hadn't been moved. She was just gone. The local sheriff's department cordoned off her house as a crime scene. They confirmed the blood found on the front porch belonged to her. Sheriff Chris Nanos stated publicly that she was kidnapped. Within a few days, the feds were on the case. On February 10th, FBI Director Kash Patel put out pictures from Nancy's Google Nest camera, a device that had been ripped off and messed with, showing a masked man with a weapon. He showed up carrying a 25-liter Ozark trail bag. He tried tapping the camera to knock it loose. When that didn't work, he stuffed leaves from a nearby plant over the lens. The feds described the guy as about 5'9" or 5'10", with an average build and a dark mustache. They found male DNA on a glove dumped in the brush 2 miles away. That DNA was run through the national database. There wasn't a hit, which tells us this person has never been in the system with American police before. As of today, March 23rd, 2026, 51 days have passed with no arrests or sign of Nancy. However, there's a detail the news missed that flips this case on its head. After nearly 2 months of national coverage, everyone is still focused on that one guy in the mask and his backpack. But a former homicide detective from the same department spoke to Parade magazine this past Thursday. He shared something that should have been front-page news. Kurt Dabb stated clearly that he doesn't believe this was a solo job. It looks like there were probably 2 to 4 people involved. He mentioned that pulling off a crime this complex would be impossible for just one guy. That statement was made 3 days ago. Think about how many follow-up questions the national media asked. Practically zero. That is because if DAB is correct, and all signs point to him being right, then everyone has been focusing on the wrong thing for 7 weeks. Let us look at what was actually happening. The guy in the mask, who people are calling Porch Guy, did not just show up for the first time on February 1st. Both ABC News and Fox News had sources confirm that he was spotted at Nancy's front door at least once before, without a backpack or a holster, weeks before she went missing. According to Fox News Digital, that encounter happened after January 8th and roughly 3 weeks prior to the kidnapping, which would be around January 11th. That was definitely not a random visit. Detectives asked everyone on the block to check their security cameras starting from January 1st, a whole month before she was taken. One neighbor, Michelle Young, told Fox News Digital that police came by 5 different times. During the last visit, both the FBI and the local deputies specifically mentioned January 11th as a date they were interested in. One trip was to scope out the place. The second was to do it. However, the scouting went beyond the front porch. The FBI found small thumbnail photos, not actual video clips, from cameras that watched Nancy's pool, her backyard, and the side of the house. You can see several people in those photos in the days leading up to her disappearance. Strangely, those same cameras caught nothing on the night she was taken. Security expert Ed Burnett told the Mirror US what that implies. Someone likely scouted the house beforehand to figure out exactly where the cameras were pointing and where the blind spots were, tested the motion sensors, and then took a path that never set off a single alarm. He called it pre-operational surveillance. That level of careful preparation is not a solo job. Now, here is a small detail that nobody noticed at first, but which investigators now consider one of the most vital clues in the whole case. The morning after Nancy Guthrie went missing, a neighbor living right next door decided to look at their Ring camera recordings from the night before. That specific camera, which had the best view of Nancy's place, showed no data for the entire night. Meanwhile, their other 3 cameras that were further away from her house worked perfectly. Just this one camera facing this one direction on this one night failed. The neighbor told NBC News it felt very eerie. On March 5th, FBI agents went door to door asking every resident the exact same thing. Did you have any trouble with your Wi-Fi? On the night of February 1st, several neighbors admitted they did. Many confirmed their connection had dropped out.
We're in the neighborhood for Nancy Guthrie, where these random signs started popping up around the neighborhood. There's about 3 of them so far. Pima County detectives are actually on scene now. They're about to pull the signs off for evidence. These are very suspicious since they were put up in random spots in the neighborhood and nowhere near her actual house. Her house is about a mile away. There was a old school Chevy pickup truck that we saw leaving the area, and then we found this. It apparently has names of people that might have been murdered in the past. Not really too sure on this. Once again, this is in Pima County in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood, where Pima County Sheriff detectives are on scene, and they're going to collect these signs for evidence. Pima County detectives just took down one of the signs that just popped up in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. They took them in for evidence. There's multiple names on these signs along with the license plate number, and one of the names on the signs is actually from a lady that was murdered not too long ago in the general area. Once again, this is Pima County Sheriff detectives in Tucson, Arizona, in the Catalina foothills, which is Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood.
Information 7 weeks since she was last seen.
We're joined this morning by former FBI Special Agent Scott Curtis in New York. Scott, thanks so much for your time. So Savannah and her family believe the community has a crucial role to play here in trying to solve this case. Would you agree with that?
Yes, of course. I mean, and they're doing what, they feel like they should be doing regularly here, and that's keeping this story in the news, emphasizing that the public may know something. Maybe it was something that they didn't feel was important or significant at the time, but they're asking people to review what they may have in their possession in terms of video footage, or what they may have remembered from certain instances during that specific time period in question here. And if it's anything of question, anything of suspicion there, that they want them to notify law enforcement about what they know, so law enforcement can pursue it and determine whether it's relevant or not.
This amid reports the FBI is looking into a vacant property near Nancy's home. Do we know anything more about that?
No, but it makes sense that law enforcement would be, executing concentric circles from the target location, working outward, and identifying any suspicious locations there, or any locations that may have additional video camera footage there that they can maybe extract something that's stored. But they're going to follow any relevant lead here that could provide some clues to identify these perpetrators.
Scott, this is just so harrowing for the family. I mean, 7 weeks. How do they not have a single lead out there that could point to where she could possibly be and who might have her?
Well, I think some of that is maybe the sophistication of these individuals who perpetrated this criminal act here, or it could be, just a matter of luck that they targeted Nancy Guthrie in this neighborhood that wasn't very well lit, where there wasn't a lot of activity, where it was in the middle of the night, and they got lucky that they weren't captured on additional video camera footage or any eyewitnesses observing them coming and going in that neighborhood. But again, like people have said, I think there's more than one perpetrator involved in this situation, and that just opens the door to more people knowing who these individuals are and maybe heard or witnessed something related to their activity.
That's the hard thing to reconcile, just further what Sarah was saying then. And that is, okay, I mean, luck only goes so far, but if there was a professional side to all of this, what was the point of it?
Well, I think this was maybe started off as a burglary or a robbery that went bad, and they wanted to cover their tracks. Something, nefarious happened in the commission of this crime here within the residence, and they determined that it was better to take with them any potential evidence linking them to the crime and to that scene. And it was better to just, take Nancy Guthrie away from that residence here. And, they were, again, there was some luck in that they weren't observed, and that the Nest camera there didn't have a backup server there recording their activity there, which again leaves law enforcement with only the bits and pieces that we've seen on television.
Oh, you just feel for the family. It's just awful
Terrible.
for them. Scott, thanks so much for your insight. Let's hope there are some new leads that emerge soon.
You can see something in the suspect's pocket in the video that former FBI agents say looks like an antenna. Wi-Fi jammers are illegal and work by blocking the signals used by home cameras, preventing them from saving video. Morgan Wright, who runs the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases, told Fox News that a jammer would have messed up the doorbell footage too much to see anything. But the video we have is clear. So, either the jammer was not near the front door, or they only aimed it at specific cameras, like the one that went dark. Investigators have not confirmed if a jammer was involved. They have not ruled it out, though. The empty house is on the same street, and everything went quiet there right around the time Nancy went missing. Retired Pima County SWAT Commander Bob Craigier told Parade that a spot like that would give a team the perfect cover to be on the street, watching the neighborhood and Nancy's specific routine. He called it a possible base of operations or a staging area where they could hide their gear and get organized before they made their move. This week, News Nation confirmed that the FBI is back in the Catalina foothills, asking very specific questions about that empty property. None of this is officially confirmed evidence yet, but it paints a picture of a planned operation that is much bigger than just one guy with a bag showing up on the wrong night. This does not look like a simple robbery. Ex-FBI agent Greg Rogers recently told Parade, "I never believed this was a botched heist. There were plenty of chances to strike the residence while it was completely empty and unoccupied." Dabb said it plainly. Thieves don't hit a house carrying a stuffed rucksack. This was an abduction. This clip isn't meant to point fingers at any specific person mentioned here. No suspects have been officially named yet. Anyone involved in this investigation who hasn't been charged by the police is fully entitled to be seen as innocent until proven guilty. This footage makes it clear that the general discussion regarding this case has mistaken a highly organized team effort for the work of just one random individual acting alone. That perspective dictated which leads were followed and which were ignored. Recently, Sheriff Nanos informed NBC that his team is nearing the point of naming those responsible for the crime. 4 Pima County investigators and a sergeant have joined a federal task force and are now working out of the FBI regional headquarters in Tucson on a full-time basis. That glove's DNA is still being analyzed. Detectives are currently tracking the backpack, outfit, and that Ozark trail gear through sales data from physical retail stores and various internet marketplaces. Ex-FBI analyst Jennifer Dobler mentioned to Newsweek that the feds might subpoena Amazon for all sales of that specific bag from the last 12 months to interview every customer. It is tedious work, but it could blow the case wide open. Recall the opening timeline. At 1:47 a.m., the feed cut out. Within 45 minutes, the victim's heart monitor stopped. Her relatives were unaware for 7 hours. These timestamps reveal a calculated window of time where a group that had spent weeks casing the home and studying her routine finally made their move. This wasn't a solo act. It was a planned hit by people who knew the property, understood where the cameras were mounted, and knew exactly when she was expected home.
My mom is up early in Tucson, Arizona. Nancy Guthrie joins us now. Hi, Mom. Good morning. Hi, Savannah.
Well,
Hi, everybody.
I see that you've already made your bed, even though it's 3 a.m. there or whatever. Mom, why was this an important skill to teach me?
Well, I think everybody needs to know how to make a bed, and so when the
Jordan Peterson was very big on that too, making your bed.
time came to teach you guys how to make a bed, this is what I tried to teach you
now,
anyway.
This is not just your standard bed making. This is the hospital corners bed making. We're talking you can bounce a quarter off of it, right, Nancy?
Natalie, don't put me to the test. It's way too early.
Oh, she's backing off. Nancy, I just want to know how difficult Savannah was when you tried to teach her this. How much screaming and stomping her feet was involved?
All 3 of the kids thought it was a really worthless skill.
How do we do it?
So, Mom, first you show everybody how to do it, okay? And then you can judge how we do it.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Well, basically, since my bed's already made, the most important thing you have to do is to make sure this top sheet.
It's just eerie thinking. I mean, I don't know. Do you think the person that took her or did this to her had seen this video way back from 2013? Already knew what the inside of the bedroom looked like?
Is really pulled in here tightly. That's going to give you your smooth corner.
And the tuck under.
Then you pull this over, and you make kind of like a triangle.
I remember.
Don't
get started yet.
And then you tuck it under as tightly as you can. But here's the little skill. See this nice corner?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that's as tight as can be.
Okay.
You tuck it in.
And you can keep cookies in
Then when you sleep, there you go.
And then, Mom,
So when you sleep in the middle of the night, it doesn't pull out.
Thinking about them every single day. We have a lot of people coming through here, so the more awareness we can create, the better.
Nancy Guthrie's case is a painful reminder that evil does not always arrive with warning signs loud enough for everyone to hear. Sometimes it slips in through silence, through missed details, through the moments people assume are too small to matter. That is why this story carries such an important lesson for every community. Never dismiss what feels unusual. Never ignore a neighbor in danger, and never believe that someone else will take action for you. This case also teaches us the value of vigilance. A strange person, a camera that suddenly stops working, a suspicious comment, a vehicle parked where it should not be, a piece of clothing found half buried nearby. These are not always random details. Sometimes they are the first broken pieces of a much bigger truth. Awareness can save lives, and speaking up can bring answers that silence never will. But above all, Nancy's story is about human responsibility. Families should not have to beg the public to care. Communities are strongest when people protect one another, share what they know, and refuse to look away from suffering. If this tragedy leaves us with anything, it should be this. Compassion must be active, attention must be urgent, and every voice, every memory, and every tip could be the one that helps bring someone home.